actually look at what happens on the screen, because it changed when I said that I went in with a certain thought process, but then I had changed my mind. Our lovely producers updated it before we got into map number 1, but neither of you noticed.
If you weren't Parker, jingle jangle in your step, Mackie.
That's not my middle name. It's Jingle All the Way is my middle name, just in case you were
Jingle
curious.
All the Way. Oh
yeah, I'm Parker Jingle All the Way Mackay. That's my name.
I forgot your parents' favorite movie was the.
You're cinephiles. What can I say?
Was it 1991-ish, 1992? Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, Jingle All the Way was like 98.
Was it? Wow.
96.
96. Was it like half?
We're both wrong.
Yeah, we're both. We just need to watch more Arnold Schwarzenegger films, I think.
I got a DM on Twitter.
I doubt it.
That said, as an Irishman, I am obligated to tell you that it is Killian, not Cillian.
I said Killian.
I don't listen to you.
Yeah, I know that. But, you know, I wanted to have my moment of saying I'm right before I go back into your patriarchal-driven society.
And that was from Sublik, the R6 coach for Aerial Arise. Good luck in the NAL Last Chance qualifiers. Aerial Arise has probably the easier side of the bracket, but Wildcard is up there, so that might prove to be a bit of a challenge. Operator bands are in. We're going to see Consulate. Flores and Fenrir. And hold on, I'm talking.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I just wanted my moment.
Flores and Fenrir band. Valken Ying. Now you may have your moment.
Do you like New Consulate?
I mean, yes and no. I think it suffers from an issue that a variety of maps had a couple years ago that I thought that we had moved past, which is called roomitis.
Ah, yes. Shoeboxes on shoeboxes on shoeboxes.
What I loved about old Consulate was that it was linear, but it was a lot of straight, long-range gunfights. Whereas this is now a lot of it, you're just shoved into close quarters, and you have to take micro-engagement by micro-engagement.
Well, the first micro-engagement might come across here over the servidores, or servers, if you want to know, Michael. Astro's gone really far. Gets the ping on that loose player there, and you talked about the power of Monty. They might think that they've gone unchecked, and that could be a little bit dangerous for the player in that position. However, it's a real tricky one to try and route your way in if you're going to try and force your fight on electric, to swing around towards construction for the fight itself. You've still got to get past the mirror window. And so they're not even going to risk it. They're just going to let the player pull back, keep the Monty where they are, and start doing some more structural work.
Still going to continue to press forward, though. Raps dies first. Lose Astro 2. Now Dodez on the board, but traded right back. Sexy Cake gets one, then he's gone to Souls. These teams coming to blows very early on. Not benefiting E1. They're stare down a 1v3.
A bit curious, obviously. They was all quiet for a long time, and it seems like the Monty just walked right into FaZe's trap, and then they were able to go, okay, here's the kills that we want on the back. Yeah, we did get a taste of Sexy Cake inside the site, maybe putting some pressure on, or at least attempting to, but again, Rumitis. There is a lot of these small corners, a lot of areas you have to clear, and you can see Lucan is looking for that. Almost gets a double stack up there, and you can see what player that is. I think that's Handy in the far distance, pulls themselves a bit further away. They don't get caught, because that could have been 2 kills in one DMR pump. But here, with one player on the yellow ping, the other he's not quite sure about. Capcan isn't moving. They're just holding on behind the screens. On the opposite side, it is such an awkward approach to make. Does he know how close the swing is on the left? He gets another one, almost a second stack up here. The DMR has almost found a couple of victims. 30 seconds, loads of time, and some hot pings, and even now a mirror window to play behind. But the kid being away from him is that biggest risk factor. A slight bit of motion from the Legion. A great gun to lock it out, but that almost went away from FaZe.
Almost. But ultimately, just buying time until the inevitable end of the round. Things have been flipped on their head. Vivo Keyed Stars versus Black Dragons did not go the way that we anticipated at all.
No.
Further, I mean, it wasn't even just the matchup, it was how the maps went. If you look on paper here, E1 has had more success in stage 2. Yeah, FaZe Clan maybe had the harder group. I can agree with that argument. FaZe Clan starting on defense on Consulate can rack up an impressive tally of rounds. They can hit that 3 or 4 round mark and swap sides and only be a couple away. Victory. And to date, NIP, there's a rematch within their grasp. A lot of work to be done. And we're on Consulate, so we're still seeing metas shift and develop. The way that E1 just went about approaching that bottom floor bomb site is something that we haven't really seen replicated by other teams. So I think, as a spectator and somebody who doesn't particularly care which team does better in this matchup, I think it is always a treat to watch teams approach certain bomb sites on new maps with a different flavor.
The flavor so far is FaZe, but I'll be honest, with how much of a disaster that started in for E1, they really should have been able to start biting and biding their time back in towards the end of it. We're all the way back up towards console, or you may call it CEO. You may, you don't have to. You just have the permission to.
I actually call it console. I think I'm one of the few people who do. Seems like everybody else just says CEO.
CEO is just more fun. Like CEO, you know? Console. CEO. You see?
I genuinely do not see. And also do not care.
Do you E or do you O? I put a face. And you can see the... I know. A minute gone. They're still trying to filter their way out. You can see they've made some approach onto the opposite end. It's not quite an admin take. They're underneath it instead. Sexy Cake and Astro, both with grenades in their pockets and an Ash up trying to find the fight. And, well, there's the first body. Odes gets rid of KDS, and there is the play on the grenades. Bitter King almost caught out quite horribly there, just in passing.
Curious as to where the Razor Blooms are. After the changes to Thorn, and by changes I mean literally giving her a 1.5. Suddenly Thorn is in vogue to a much higher level than before. Razor Blooms will almost never get the kill. Sometimes maybe, but so seldom do they. It's mostly to push somebody out of a position. You vault in through a window, Razor Bloom starts to go off. You cannot stay there. It's like a frost mat. You vault over, you see the frost mat below you. Chances are in an engagement, you're going to pick the frost mat, you're going to shoot it. Somebody might be watching over top of it and be waiting for you to get the kill. Oh, here's a flank from Cyber with the shotgun in hand.
A risky flank. They're obviously playing themselves underneath here with the hope that a plant comes down. There's a lot of soft on both of the bomb sites here. You've got the sort of cubby that I'm not sure if it's been broken in, the walk-in connector. Otherwise, they're still trying to find a way to funnel their players up. Cyber does get one. There's the play against the grenade. It gets caught out, but they at least don't die in the fight. The Sexy Cake gets some revenge against the shotgun-toting Solace. And that buys them some security for the plant. But look at the timer. Not a lot of it left here, as Astro needs to try and join the team that is otherwise suffering, or he gets handed his own face via bullet form, and Sexy Cake doesn't last much longer. FaZe get a second round, and that one at a much more sturdy end.
It might sound like a cop-out, but genuinely, what on earth happened in that round?
Such a good color.
I am not a color commentator. See, this is what happens. There are two play-by-play casters working together.
Hello.
Hello. There's no such thing as a dedicated color and a dedicated play-by-play in this game because there, in all reality, is about 25 seconds worth of action per round. Both commentators need to know how to do some color, though it is not their focus. And I think that play-by-play is not really as necessary, but I mean, it's a good thing to have for both. Take a new map. Yeah. You take a single perspective, as we tend to see. One player. Challenging to understand how you go about breaking that down. I don't know if you have a better understanding of that round than I do, but I mean, a lot of it seemed to come from over towards admin side, where much of the focus from E1 fell apart. You could not move the Azami, I believe it was, that was playing in that position. if memory serves me correctly.
It is an awkward one to take, and I think the way it sort of boiled down was they had a couple of different plans that they wanted to try and make stick, and that's a teething issue that I think you'll see on a lot of new maps. New map-itis. You'll add it to your list of illnesses.
Teething-itis, or teething issues. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and they went in with the, what was it, 4 grenades underneath to see if they could get a catch. We only saw one actually try and impact close to a player. It didn't quite get the lock-in. They had the single fight inside admin, and, you know, they got the first kill, but then you're looking at trying to push away across the long corridor and push away onto the next step. They seem to try and dabble with a couple of different IDs and just want to slowly encircle the site. But with the free sort of wheeling energy of FaZe, it didn't seem like they quite had the full lockdown on where the players were. Talking of, I mean, look at that. Quick zip right in. They didn't quite know where Cyber was. They're peppering bullets. The sledge comes through. The Twitch drone was watching it. Please don't escape. And if he escapes, this is a tragedy for the side of E1 at this point. He's going in blind. He gets a couple of hits in. Rap survives, but there's the pickup on the back end. They should get the end of that. This is a lot of time, a lot of utility. A C4 gets wrapped as well. They bait against the player. And all of this to try and close down on Cyber. You saw him get aggro. You saw him lean against the window. But just that sort of blinkered focus has been punished by FaZe.
I think that if this round goes quickly in favor of FaZe, we see a timeout get popped, because at this point, FaZe Clan will get that full rotation. You've got a sledge. Where is Dodez to do this work upstairs? The longer it takes you with that super shorty, the more vulnerable a Gridlock is to getting killed by an impact, a nitro cell, of which there's still one in the hands of KDS's Pulse, or just simply getting shot away at. Additionally, the longer this timer goes down, the more power goes towards Handy, who is now under fire but has the shotgun. And he wins the fight against Dodez. That's relatively easy. No way! No! Good God, Handy.
I mean, shotguns have got a buff, but swinging around, throwing utility behind someone else, taking the fight. Yeah, they don't need a buff to get the kills off of the back of that. That is really the perfect place for that. And you said if the round ends quickly, yeah, you're right. But if the round ends poorly, same thing. 3 bodies to a meat grinder, and a missed play, and just no real connection.
I was correct with the timeout, by the way.
Yeah, I was just complimenting you.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was saying, you know, if it ends quickly, but also if it ends poorly,
yeah.
You're right on that. Handy. It's proving pretty handy. 6 kills, no deaths.
Astra came out of retirement for this too, right? It's not been a, I mean, for the stage for E1, it was pretty good. They looked like a great team. And then they come up against FaZe in a best of 3. And I mean, it also shows to the deficiencies that we see in terms of skill with a best of 1. If you have an off day, or 2 of your players have an off day, and it's just a single map, that's it. You're gone. Like, there's nothing you can do really at that point. You have one shot, one opportunity, and that's it. Whereas in a best of 3, you can have a bad game, but you know that you've still got at least one more map, hopefully 2, to try and course correct. And in a best of 3, we usually know that teams will come in being confident that they'll win their map and lose the other. So
reality can come at you.
Life comes at you pretty fast, you know?
Of a tomahawk missile.
Like a duck, almost.
If I saw a duck coming at me, and I didn't have a tomahawk missile to defend myself, what would I do?
That's a great question.
FaZe. Go back down towards the garage. And that's an easy word in Portuguese, actually, because they just had an M onto the end.
Garage 'em?
Garage 'em. I don't call it a garage. A car hole.
When you say garage?
It was a Simpsons reference.
I got the Simpson reference, but I was also making fun of
Garage.
There you go. Or as some in, I think it's Western Canada will say garage.
It would be like, garage? I'm going to my garage? Can you do any impressions?
No.
You said that with a bit of fear. Like someone's asked you and you've tried and failed before.
No, I wouldn't say it was fear. I would just say it was definitiveness.
All right. Can't even do like a Christopher Walken or...
Not on a broadcast with people watching. First time out used between these two on this map. E1 gets on the board first. Goodbye to KDS. The nade from below from Dodez looking for a follow-up, but cannot find it. It looks like one player from FaZe Clan in front. Yep, it's Handy. Cyber there as well. Astro tearing through, finding kill number 1 for him. Breaking that goose egg. Got Handy next. Handy taking down Raps, though. Astro just a little bit too slow. He's dropped away at the hatch.
It's a bit tragic there, right? He's just been led ring around the rosy, and the player he was hunting got a kill. Whilst he was trying to get the exact watch onto that fight there, and the F2 isn't the easiest gun to control. You'll obviously see a lot of DMR players playing the gun nowadays after it being one of the strongest guns in the game to sort of be moved away by the kickback and by how it angles. But that, to lose a player is one thing, but to have them go away and get a kill, they weren't quite ready for the drop there. They have the swing waiting onto the opposite side. Sexy Cake wants to see if they can try and get the plant down. I think, sure if they threw a pocket utility or another gadget to deploy, but very noisy gadgets. Pressure's coming out to the swing on the side. They get the first kill. There's the second follow-up, and FaZe either side of a timeout. Doesn't matter, time after time. Their rounds to take. And with this one held, that's 4 in a row on this map.
Very impressive from FaZe Clan, even if a lot of the action is happening in ways that we are not capable of seeing. And I don't want to be the guy that just simply says, oh yeah, you know, let's go to drone work, which honestly was the bigger issue in the previous matchup. I've not really seen a lot of cohesion from E1, and I don't know if drones are the culprit or if it's just them trying to figure out a map that is still relatively new for a newer team. I think the troubling prospect is that this is E1's map choice. Right? It's, you pick your map. FaZe Clan going up 4-0 is fine. If E1 wins the next 2 rounds, you're about as good as you're probably going to get in that first half. Then you have to hope that momentum is still there mentally. You're still in the game, because if not, FaZe Clan will just run away with it. I think it's fair to say that FaZe Clan have the harder side when the side swap comes in. I don't know if you would agree.
I do. I think attacking on this map is awkward. I think attacking on new maps can be awkward if they're big maps, and this definitely falls into, I think, the category of a big map. Because remember how small Consulate used to be as well. Consulate was a very narrow map. It was a shoebox map. It was one of the only maps where if you zoomed the camera out all the way on the top, you could get the entirety of the map in frame. And there isn't really any of the maps that fit that play space. Border is the only hyper-aggressive one that I think we really have left in the current map pool. This handles more like Skyscraper. It handles more like checking lines and checking corners. Just look at that setup of admin there, how awkward those corners are and how awkward those rooms are to get a proper clear and to get yourself up on a rappel to get your way in. It takes a long time. And all of that adds up. And attacking just doesn't work as fluently. You have to be very smart and very sort of clever on it.
Calm start to the first minute of this round. Shotgun brought by Cyber on the Ella. Shotgun that jumps to mind on this previous site is that Soulless clutch. Broke the backs of E1 back in round number 2. Oh, there's a nade to go against Handy. E1 suddenly hitting the board, and furiously so. 3 uncontested kills.
Very well put together there. They sort of had an awareness of where the pressure needed to be. It was quite aggressive from FaZe. They stepped in. They wanted to see if they could try and get the kill. 2 bodies throwing themselves through a single door just makes it an easier target for the person that's holding onto the angle. The drone rolls out and isn't going to sit around and see what is to follow it, because in a 5 versus 2, E1 also have loads of time, and they're making sure they make good use of it. It's 3 drones we've seen them remove in the past about 20 seconds. They're going to get themselves back into a position that they just get torn up on. Souls at least gets one, but with the player on the loose end behind them, a much better round from E1. They had the whip. They have one attack, but at the minute, all that means is they have a lifeline for the second half of the game. They need to cement a second round here.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is your saving grace. And as you said before, they were a bit graceless. If you're not able to take 2 rounds in this first half, then yeah, you're in significant trouble, especially up against a team that looks like it's working very well together. I will say in that round, promising signs for E1 were that they took map control much faster than the last time, and they actually seemed to use their utility quite well. I haven't seen a lot out of the various Lion and Dokkaebis that have come out from E1 that leads me to believe that they're actually following up on that information. That particular round, what used to be projector upstairs, which is where one of the bomb sites was, fell very quickly for E1. They were able to swing through, get those 2 early picks, and I think FaZe Clan, frankly, overcorrected. And when they tried to punch back, which is a very sensible thing to do, if you lose 2 picks, catch them while they get those kills, gun them back down. 5v3 is something that we always say is one of the most fragile and precarious leads in Rainbow Six. FaZe Clan overcorrect. They lose more bodies. At that point, it's just a waiting game. There were still drones on the side of E1, still had logic bombs, they still had good HP, and they're very, very close to the bomb site. It's not like they're going to have to struggle with very limited time to get to the site. No, they're right there. All told, much better coordination, and E1 do finally get on the board. This round is an absolute must-win for them. Not an absolute must-win in the sense that they lose the game if they don't win it, but I just don't see how you win this map if you go down 5-1 in the first half.
Yeah, we haven't gone back that far in time to 5 rounds being a win. 4-1. FaZe, they've got themselves in pretty good stead. They're going to find themselves background here on what is a ground floor, what is a first floor, depending on what country you have the respect floors towards. And, well, with the vertical control up on the top floor, that's the bit that you can't argue they either need to get rid of. Swing comes in. Across, they have the Dokkaebi. They're going for the hunt. They've got the Iana not far behind. The shield as well, but there's the long range. Souls gets one. There's the cut right across from Handy. Getting Astro, and to say the importance of that verticality needs to be stolen, but Sexy Cake is a couple of 2 steps away from actually being on the back end of this engagement. They've already picked up and pulled themselves further back. They can hand over a little bit of the line here. They don't have to be as sort of aggressively poised, because this is the important part, and they play them right into the hand of a C4, dabbled and danced across destruction. With Luca looking to see if they can try and tear off the head either side, it has sort of been just a step in and then just a perfect step out. There's a player watching from underneath on the verticality. Just caught the end of that, and, well, they're hunting them like jaws. They close down, and the last little bit is for Raps. They were able to get 1 kill. But again, they suffer from they don't even know where. It's another C4 to close it out.
So much information from FaZe Clan there.
Just didn't know. They had no idea.
Yeah. And just as I was complimenting E1, it will again be a bit reductive to say poor drone work. And that's really what a lot of that round boiled down to. Individual gunfights that occurred through various points in that map, which, if I can borrow a phrase from a good friend Pengu, compartmentalization is very important on maps with lots of rooms. You have to basically cut the map into chunks and then clear it together, which is the hallmark of a good team. It's something that W7M does exceptionally well. Nip has been doing it quite effectively. And honestly, E1, I've had struggles with it, but for a relatively new team, I want to just, give them a tip of my hat and say they've been doing an okay job with it as well. On all 6 of those attacking rounds, there were serious struggles from E1 when it came to compartmentalization, and that last round was an excellent example of it. FaZe Clan didn't even seem to break a sweat at all. Default cams left up. Map control outside of the very floor that you were attacking on never really gained by E1. It was very linear, very straight and to the point. And even though it was straight to the point, you think, okay, we're going to drone one person in, maybe 2 drones go in for the same person. That's a very linear take. Sure. Why not do that way? You've got intel. Somebody's going to follow up on it. No. E1 didn't look like they were droning half their players in. There were 2 engagements that I can recall that were earlier on in the round that happened with very minimal information, where FaZe Clan either had intel themselves because the default cam's going up or because they heard something and played off of it. You have an experienced team like FaZe Clan, whose players have been around longer. There's experienced players on E1, but not to the same core level that we see from FaZe. You need to be prepared for what comes your way. That's drone work. That's on defense. That means information. Might not have worked on attack. On defense, at least you're bringing information here. Legion is going to be your intel operator with all those goo mines littered about. I'll hopefully give E1 a good wherewithal as to where FaZe Clan's attack is coming from.
Wherever it hits, it's got to make sure that it hits hard, to be honest, because at this point, that is one of the big things that's being pulled away. You look at the kill spread. I mean, Handy's on 10-1. He's sort of away in his own game right now, but multiple players have gotten themselves onto at least that even KD, whereas on the other side, E1 have really struggled with only 2 players getting into fights consistently. It seems like they're just being pulled away from these, and as Sexy Cake wants to step in with his army onto this engagement, they're playing onto those windows and sort of pushing them back and smashing them. They're holding on to try and support Dodez, who is deep in almost enemy territory at this point. The slow clear comes around the corner. They're trying to find them out. They've cut off the rotate. They're going to see if they can hold on. The pre-fire hits the angle and all is being thrown towards them. But as long as they're holding onto this spot, they're wasting a lot of FaZe's time. The pings are still on towards the Azami on the far end. It needs to be a roll. And with all the grenades that have gone away from them, they're just a little bit stuck here, FaZe. They've sort of got eyes on this single player, finally been able to do a bit of a scrape and a scratch against them. They somehow get the kill against the hard wall, finally get ended, but it has been such a costly affair for them.
Chip damage again for FaZe Clan, doing what they can to E1, but only walking with the single kill. Remarkable that Dodez got that swing onto the panel, opened up. At risk at this point of falling behind the clock. I'm glad that FaZe Clan are still doing intel gathering. But 5 drones of 10, they get information from the Yana clone right away, but KDS, whether it be the information he wanted or whether it just be an assessment from the IGL to, hey, we need to move and go in a different direction, KDS will fall off of it. That was an angle on the Sexy Cake that he was almost certain he was going to win, but E1 are sitting pretty. Bit of King and Souls are the last 2 left. There's only 30 seconds to go.
It's an awkward push now. They've got themselves both stacked up top of Spiral, but as you said, that intel gathering is full sound. Both of them having to pull these pins out of their peepers or they get popped from the swing round the side. There's the last at the top of the Spiral, but they don't last very long. E1 find their second round, not too far away from their previous one. You can start threading a couple of these together. Might have a FaZe timeout sooner rather than later.
I mean, there's a long road to walk for E1. They can actually win in regulation if they go perfect on this half. I think that's maybe too much of a tall order. Overtime is likely your best bet because FaZe Clan not picking up a single round on Consulate, seemingly very, very unlikely. The second map of stage 2, we saw Consulate emerge with FaZe and Nip doing battle here. FaZe Clan took 7 rounds to Nip's 8 rounds. And if we actually go back to look at how that broke down, round by round, it was actually the 3rd match, technically. It was a 4-2 half for both teams. Defender favored. FaZe Clan took 4 of the first 6 rounds. Nip answered back, and then every single round in overtime went in favor of the defense. Operator bans were Monty, Ying, Kaid, and Azami. The only ban from that particular matchup that matches here is the Ying ban. Everything else is open. And as to whether or not they want to play it, that's anybody's guess. I do like when we see the diversity in bans. FaZe banned out Monty and Kaid in that match. Here, it's a Flores and a Fenrir. So it could just be that the meta is shifting or that this is a direct target against E1.
Flores feels more like a direct target. It can become a bit of a alliance. Fenrir is just good to get rid of. He's sort of in that pocket of super powerful defenders at that moment in time, alongside, you know, Solace, alongside Valkyrie, alongside an unfortunately long list, to be honest, of what is an operator that it's not just that they have a great gadget that requires that use of coordination, but also great guns, great motions, and there's the first. The emotion is Astro being removed by Cyber. The King gets one more, and look at this. They just took the back. All the momentum. They're inside the site going for the plant itself. Raps is left raptured by a fight elsewhere. He can't even begin to retake the vertical. It's all down to the Soul player. Sprays over, gets two. A huge play, but doesn't last very long.
It's like my grandpappy always said, you know, close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. And none of the horses are there, so.
Sad yeehaw.
The opposite of yeehaw, boo-hoo.
I thought it was ha yee. Do you think you would do that as a cowboy?
I'm more of a cowboy.
I saw them live the other day.
I know.
It's very good. Very funny.
I know you
I'm
did.
a cowboy.
How was it?
Very good. Very funny. 6-2.
Just literally repeat exactly what you said. No further explanation. Excellent.
6-2. I like that there were people in Twitch chat that were like, oh, these two casters, they don't really get on, do they? They don't know each other.
I don't read Twitch chat while I cast, but I will say I got a couple DM requests on Twitter that popped up basically saying like the reason why he bailed off the plant was because of the floor thing, which I don't know if they're watching on a delay or not, but I mean, I think it was a round later that we brought that up as a possibility.
Yeah. Oh, that was a while ago. It was so map one of you. This
It's been a
looks
very
like a very
fast
fun
day. We've only
lineup.
been casting for 4 hours.
We have no game has gone more than a 7-3. And look at the lineup on the right-hand side of your screen, my friend. This one might end here as well.
Dokkaebi, Amaru, and a Blitz. FaZe Clan got dinner plans. They got somewhere to go. They got somewhere to be. They pull it
there's
off,
the
though.
hat.
I think a lot of times over this stage, too, that these rush strats just ultimately do not work.
Yeah.
Oh.
Silent shotgun. They sneak their way in. They don't want to drop the camera because, well, if the camera's broken, you know somebody has been there. So at this point, who's going to come through? They are watching some of the vertical all the way from underneath, and the Solace will be the big break on this. Because if they try and zip up and go for a plant, the Solace can see through pretty much anything. They don't care that they're being called. They don't care that there's smokes or anything. There's the Blitz. We are chugging our way across the middle of the site. There's the fight on the back end of it. Tux drops and rolls. Sexy Cake gets one. The Blitz is able to get Sexy Cake back on the back of it. Are they going to go for the plant in the meantime? It seems like the kit was obviously stocked, but they do still have a second of a chance. The bulletproof is the big problem right now. They're spraying towards the Blitz, hoping they can get the kill onto the side of the player, but they can't quite eke out the narrow angle. You can see that there's a lot of maths being done from both teams now, and as Astro just tries to pop the hand to the shoulder, the Blitz needs some support. The Princess is stuck in the tower, and they're going for the reverse plant. The shield on the back is going to act like a turtle and stop them getting it, but there's the catch. Zyber has to stop planting. They could just see the foot. That bulletproof is giving the whole game away. You need the Buck to make a bit of a motion here. You need them to draw some focus up top. Dodes has creeped his way in. There's Astro finally getting the end of it. And for a valiant effort of holding in, there was just too little support from FaZe. Far too late here. You look at where the Buck was. You look at where Handy was. And at this point, the Blitz had survived far longer by themselves than they should have.
This lends further credibility to the statement that these rush strats don't really work all that well. I struggle to think of a matchup, at least that I've casted so far this stage, where full rushing into the site actually works. I'm thinking it's not coming to me.
Having a ranked game the other day, we did a really good rush on.
In what universe do you think that matters to what I'm saying?
I just wanted to try and give you an example. So you
What
didn't
about the
look like
multiverse? You think in the metaverse, maybe?
I wonder what Metaverse Us is like.
Probably very similar, but sadder. Andy dies. That was it. This round was effectively over. A 1v4. Time being on the clock. There was no hope whatsoever for FaZe Clan.
They knew where the kit was. They had the Solace above. Even if you tried to get in and get the plant, that bulletproof would have all of the read on you. That round was over. They're going right back on the horse, mate. Look at that blitz. Oh.
Play standard. I mean, at this point, FaZe Clan have proven themselves to be a significantly better team in this matchup. And you go back to Skyscraper 7-3. That was FaZe's map, of course. We thought that E1, after they won their first 2 rounds in a row, they only mustered a single round from that point on. FaZe obviously having 3 round wins in a row and then 4 in a row. Now you go to Consulate. E1 only muster a single round in the first half. FaZe Clan looking like their old selves. And if you look on the right side of your screen, I actually desperately hope that these stay locked in, because that means we'll have a Blackbeard emerge now. I was hopeful.
You know what I haven't seen yet? And to be fair, this is the only day I've cast since it, is the Master Chief skin on Sledge. In terms of the player card, obviously, not the in-game skin. I haven't seen it yet. Have you?
No, I don't believe so.
People need to sort it out.
You can't use the skin in-game.
No, there is a player card, right? It's a full wrapped elite.
Yeah. And it's Master Chief.
Yeah.
I
Sorry,
agree with. I don't know if you
John.
saw Fresh's tweet, but he said that we should make an exception.
We should make an... I think pay-to-lose skins should be allowed. Give me Furry Smoke. Give me Master Chief. Give me Mozzarella.
But isn't the rule just... It's simpler this way, right? It's no skins, basically. Except for like R6 share skins, which I think is fair, because then every single time a new skin comes out, you have to basically assemble the council and assess, all right, is this worth including in the game?
Yep. I just think silly skins should be allowed.
Cyber's
error showing
I concur.
some desk work. Press to smash it up, but can't quite get the angle. Dodez is taking a bit of a risk here. When you are 6-2-3, and remember the power position they played last time, you're going to survive for however long you're going to survive here. They're dodging a weaving, but this time, Cyber is able to get the kill way earlier than they did, without 2 bodies being fall on the back of it. A minute 30 has been the cost, but the body advantage can be something that can be pressed. We've seen FaZe go for rotates round before. Will they try and find one decisively? Picking, cutting his way underneath, past the cautionary tail. Visa stairs, but as Souls is setting up some air jabs, you've still got to try and have this pressure applied elsewhere, and whether it was the top of the spiral or not, well, when you're in the 5 versus 2, it's much trickier. But they're just sort of ensuring some safety underneath. However, push does need to come to shove.
Souls cannot get bogged down on this skylight, but finds Lukid by long desk and tears strips out of him. As KDS, who had a phenomenal first game but is slowed down for the second game, will throw out his last nade. Attempt to dislodge somebody on defense. Souls now daring for an engagement as he hits a goo mine at the top of Spiral. Very little time left. Advantage favoring FaZe Clan. No logic bombs. Virtually no utility, by the way, for them to work with. This will just be a straight up slugfest.
Oh, they forgot about that position. They came up and sprayed through across towards the top of Spiral window, but with 20 seconds, and now all attention paid towards the top of Yellow. They got to win out this fight before they can focus on the push and the plant elsewhere. Cyber takes some damage. Handy's going to go for the plant. Sexy Cake does win out. Now they can full focus their attention and say, let's stop this kit going down. Lukid gets Cyber. They're still holding on to the cover. The close angle, the explosion doesn't quite get it. Souls gets 1 and 2 down. It is just down to Sexy Cake now. He's trying to find the angle. He's been able to creep his way around onto the corner. There's 2 players still standing. He's taking the long route, hoping that he can get Lukid up. He should be able to, but there is a bit of a rotate coming through. The position has gone wider. There's the spray. He watches Lukid go down. They know exactly where he is with barely any health. He has a pretty Herculean task. Sees the first fight, doesn't get the second. FaZe, they take the second map. They take the second spot in the games tomorrow. And this is where the road, at least in these deciders, ends for E1, as all they have ahead of them is seeding.
Oh my! And of course it's Sexy Cake, the star of E1, who time and time again kept this team in the thick of it. It comes up empty-handed against possibly the hardest foe